Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper right hand corner we got Nyentek starting as the purple Zerg. Up left hand corner we got Neoko starting as the orange Protoss. This is going to be the fight of the cat sounding names, I guess. Wonder if Neoko is on a BSL or a Brood War Clan League team. Nom, pretty good team out there. This is going to be on Radion, by the way, if I'm looking at this map properly, and I do believe I have it properly listed on the overlay as well. Makes me feel good. Overlord's going to get first scout towards the left. I've been enjoying, there's been a lot of PvZ for whatever reason in this particular round of the Swiss bracket, and I'm here for it, honestly. Mostly because I like seeing what's going on at this tier. It does feel like this is, out of all the matchups, this is the one that's having the most flux right this second. I will say Brood War build orders almost feel like a social agreement, social contract theory, where both players are like, yeah, this is what we're going to do a little bit here and there. Then there's those occasional misfits that are going to do like the in-base, one-base Protoss play, things like that. Probe, by the way, going to get first scout here for Neoko as well. And do we have we are going overpool here for Nyentek. I have to be careful because if I just don't pronunciate well, I'm going to end up calling one player the other, which I think I might have done a little bit in some of these commentaries already. Apologies if I've done that overall. But Probe going to get first scout. This might lead Nyentek to produce a few more Zerglings in the early stages. Are we going to see we are seeing Forge first. I think you can go Forge, and we are going to be able to see a little disruption of the natural expansion. Second drone pulling off the line. Is one drone just going to go out? I'm always interested to see how the Zergs opt to play this. Some player likes pulling off the extra drone and then trying to get, pylon blockade on top of everything else. I think that's 33 resources well spent. But some Zerg, they'll just pull off the drone and go ahead and grab that third and ignore this initial probe. We are seeing a pair of Zerglings constructed as a result. Cannon before Nexus, by the way, for Neoko. Canceling the pylon, but I think that's well worth it for all the time delay, especially if you have two drones in your face that are attempting to create the harassment, and that probe has been well worth its weight, which I guess I should say it's been worth more than its weight, because I don't think probes are very heavy. I mean, they float, right? Maybe they're just have that aerodynamic design. I always imagine them to be very light, though. Nexus on the way. Overlord going to take a few shots in the derriere as it's pushed out of the corner. Probe mostly taking the attention of the Zerglings. Third base in construction. Gas not really being dedicated to as of yet for Nyentek, so that's going to be, and let's see if this gets spotted. This drone trying to hold, I guess, more focus on the drone. This leads me to believe we're going to see 973 overall, because he's just not really paying, or maybe even a Zergling flood. Fourth hatchery already. What? What? And now the gas. Interesting. Okay, we'll see how this plays out. That 300 minerals at this stage actually causes a bit of an economic hit, because that was a lot of minerals that was not invested in larva for drones. So there's kind of a depression. If you can think of it as like a graph, there's a lower dip briefly. Also, the probe's going to be able to cycle around and spot that. Sees the 4 hatcheries. If I saw this, my brain would be thinking this is most likely a 4 hatchery Hydra bust. And I might be thinking about investing in a Corsair to get rid of this Overlord sooner rather than later. By the way, we have another Overlord already nearby, and maybe investing in Dark Templar and High Templar a little bit earlier. Second cannon up. Again, pushing that Overlord away. There's the Hydralist end. Yeah, I think this is 4-hatch Hydra bust. Usually you want a slightly higher drone count to make this run. Around, I think 22 is where you want it, about 22, 23. Don't quote me on that, as I'm fond of saying. +1 weapons upgrading. Now the question is how does Neoko respond? He is getting that Stargate up. I want to see whether that Templar Archive drops as well. He's certainly going to need some cannons to pad, for sure. The other problem is sometimes Zerg will drop all this, but they have no intention of actually... They're just faking you out, willing to take that economic hit to push things in between. This time the probe gonna make it all the way into the main though and confirm the Hydralisk Den. That's cute. Okay, is this gonna be a cancel after kill? So Hydralisk Den was spotted, but also we have a tech layer. Nyentek just throwing everything out just to try to push, and this is what I was talking about, the social contract sometimes gets ignored. So Nyentek doing all sorts of stuff to throw Neoko off in the early game. I'm gonna say I'm certainly thrown off right here, because Hydralisk speed is being upgraded, which suggests 4 hatch Hydra bus. Some Zealots have made it out on the map, by the way. I'm gonna guess they're headed towards that third. Second gas dropped inside Neoko's base. He's got that Corsair about halfway complete. We are seeing a surge past, so we see drones continuing to be built here, and no Hydralisks being built. Sorry, I take it back. We've got 4 Hydralisks being built, but we don't see Hydralisks being built in mass. We also see Zergling speed being invested in, but right now Neoko has no response for the Zealots that are marching into this third. See how Nyentek's it does on his pull. I think he might end up losing the hatchery, so loses 2 drones for sure. Neoko doesn't need to chase that. If he actually just sits here, might be able to get the hatchery. Certainly has enough of a engagement, I guess, with the speed that Hydralisks are going to win this fight and push the Zealots back, but able to get a decent amount of economic damage done there. Zealot's going to go ahead and draw away. Run into the darkness. And this is odd. Okay, so now we have a drone, which is an accident, but we have the Hydralisks regrouping with some Zerglings and making their way to the front. And we do have the economy to potentially sustain it, by the way. 2 Corsairs active. Haven't wiped out the 6 o'clock Overlord or that Overlord. I think where was the Overlord that was in the main? Did it not die? Maybe the Corsair didn't get the kill and the cannon got the kill. Maybe that Corsair? That's the same Corsair that just moved that direction. Additional cannons getting dropped, wisely so, from Neoko at this stage. Zealot leg speed just started up, a second gateway plopping down in the midst of this. Templar Archive. I feel like if you're going to go Templar Archives, I would have liked to see it earlier. Especially with what was being shown. Hydralisks are going to be able to move up and get at least a Corsair kill, didn't even get the Overlord on top of it. So a bit of a free lunch here for Nyentek. And he can honestly go either direction now. Neoko's way ahead overall with, I mean, he's up in supply, he's way up in workers. Just needs to get the gateway flood to kind of cap the rest of it. Nyentek moving forward with a huge amount of Hydralisks. Needs some additional cannons now. Zealot leg speed just about to finish, which is going to make it a little harder for Nyentek to execute if he was planning on going for a bust. Waiting on range. Also going with Overlord speed. This is, and he's got double evolution chamber. Pseudo-Sumo-esque, but not precisely. Gateway's going to drop. +1 weapons was already complete, and with that out of the way, the Zealot's charging forward a bit. Establishing that cannon line. But the worker count already pretty high for Neoko. He can just, honestly, this isn't too much of a threat. Yeah, just needs to make sure the Corsairs remain active and start harassing stuff here in the background. Maybe even wanted to wander out there. I would like to see a Dark Templar, honestly, and a pick off. Says he does not end up losing a Corsair right there. Yeah, just go for open space. Third gas getting grabbed from Nyentek. And this earlier weakened Overlord finally gonna get picked off. It's a bit unfortunate that it happened so late. This is kind of an interesting trio here up near the 12. But anyway, Psystorm just about upgraded. We do have a Dark Templar near the front, but we have some Overlords nearby to help defend against that. Also Overlord speed. Now this is turning into what was more, and a 5th hatchery getting dropped. This is odd. Nyentek doing everything at once and kind of at an odd timing of everything. But I think he might be able to bust here, despite being 20 supply down. He's got 3 Overlords in near position, a good amount of Hydralisks. We've got 2 Psystorms, maybe 3 as the battle persists. 1 Dark Templar and a handful of Zealots. Just 10, and the Corsairs kind of out of position to threaten a lot here in the background. So we got some lurkers morphing to go for a potential contain after the fact as well. I actually was expecting a bust the way everything was going, but it looks like instead maybe a drop because we've got ventral sacs upgrading. A lot of overlords nearby. This could also turn into a contain. The Corsair is wandering forward, going to see all the hydrals and the lurkers. And Nyentek honestly could do all of it simultaneously. He could just drop, yeah, the units out. Good spread before he's eating too much Psystorm. 3 units taking a little bit of damage right there. +1 armor on the way. Do we have the robotics is coming out somewhat slow here at the natural. About 8/9 finished. Gonna just make up fractions right here. But Nyentek right now sitting on 3 bases fairly comfortably. He could grab a 4th. I think right now he's more concentrating on trying to seal Neoko in. A little bit, he's down a considerable amount of supply, but keep in mind the worker differential, so it's not as bad as it seems. And it's going to be hard to maneuver out of this until the eggs on the corner are wiped out. There are a lot of gateways here for Neoko, though. So the question is when does he go, and how effective is he at swatting a lot of this? By the way, we're seeing that drop on top of everything else. Also an Overlord scouting 12 o'clock just to see if there were counter drops. You're gonna see more? Yeah, okay, so we got some lurkers gonna make their way up here and be annoying, and it looks like they want to try to wrap around and drop behind here. Ironically, we do have Dark Templar making their way opposite direction. Now, does Nyentek scout that? Overlord dies, but the lurkers are going to drop and get a good line of probes right there. This is turning into something crazy here. So we got a drop in the main. We got that's been cleared up, but we got this drop of Dark Templar out in the corner, and we'll try to keep an eye here. Dark Templar looks like it's gonna get cleaned up there. A lot of probes lost. Neoko actually all of a sudden well out of this match, honestly, because at the end of this he's only got 28. And the Dark Templar that dropped in the mains walked all the way back out. These lurkers still here might be able to get the Templar archives. First observer in construction, and all of this is happening while Nyentek is regrouping towards the front. Okay, that lurker gonna get taken care of. That lurker gonna get taken care of. Nyentek now in a suddenly very, very strong position. He can go grab a 4th without too much trouble. Neoko needs to rebuild probes in mass, but he's got a brutally sizable army with a lot of upgrades. His best play, honestly, might be to break out and just assault the 3rd or natural of Nyentek and just pile drive the units he's got in. Trying to see whether any additional base is getting grabbed, or we even see movement towards grabbing an additional base. Nyentek just sitting on 3. Just continuing with the upgrade path as he has +2. It's got +1, but no +2 yet. So I think he just wants to win it off Hive Tech here. Dragoons forward, able to clear off 2. The Psystorm now moving in. Well executed by Neoko on the first layer. Now how's he going to do on the second layer? Some additional decent Psystorms. He's still got more Psystorm to work with here. Shouldn't give up the troop just yet, and he's given himself a lot of walking room potentially as well. The upgrade's close to even. He just needs to maybe regroup, find his High Templar that have Psystorm to work with. More lurkers morphing on the front. Honestly, this is an opportunity for Nyentek to draw a lot of these troops back and get more of a defensive position set up, because I think it's just going to be inevitable that this is going to drop. Decent dodge to clear out some of that Psystorm, but now Neoko's sizable army has made it out onto the field. Nyentek in full retreat, except he's got some Hydralisks that are accidentally rallied, gonna plop down there. It looks like the Observer, yeah, grouped up, and so a portion of that army getting cleared. And with that portion of the army getting cleared, and Neoko's having trouble scattering his army 2 directions. I don't think he realized how big a hit. He hasn't rebuilt probes. So I don't think he recognized how large a hit he took during those lurker drops. High Templar dying as it's getting its side storm out, so Neoko grouping in to go ahead and get that third base up rather than attacking with the rest of his army. Might be the better way to execute this, actually, considering his worker deficit, now that I think about it. Because it is possible that Nyentek would be able to just seal up and just outproduce potentially. Nyentek's upgrade's also very competitive. He's actually up, I believe, upgrade-wise. So much smaller army, but hits decently hard. Both players having trouble in these engagements. More High Templar getting picked off, but we've got a slew of Dragoons. And not a lot of Hydralisk or else to defend against this. So Neoko's certainly going to be able to get that third up. And let's see if he's got enough. It's going to come down to concentrated fire more than anything. Yeah, +2 weapon, Hydralisks, +2 armor are going to push this back. Supply count just about even, by the way. But Nyentek, he's slowly walking into a loss here. 2 observers picked off. Because he's not, while he's got this lead, he's not building an overwhelming attack force. He's not doing additional drops, 1. 2, he's not building an overwhelming attack force to punch through either location. It's kind of trickling the units in. Neoko looks like he's keeping pace mostly. And the side storm's making the difference for the upgrades. And additionally, Nyentek isn't grabbing additional bases out on the map. Neoko shouldn't wander out with this, honestly. This is a little bit too... I mean, 12 o'clock, sure. But 3 base Protoss versus 3 base Zerg, 3 base Protoss does outscale. Cute little morph there to buy some time. Before getting cleared out. That Overlord... Actually, 3 Overlords here. I would love to see a Corsair. Granted, Neoko's a little bit hurting for resources, but a single Corsair could wipe out 5 Overlords right this second in enemy territory. Zealot checking bottom right just to make sure the situation is correct, but yeah. Neoko's evened up the worker count, and this is kind of also an odd situation where because so many probes were wiped out, that natural expansion is going to end up lasting a lot longer than it usually would. Okay, finally Nyentek grabbing a base, but oddly enough, going for the base in the bottom left-hand corner. A Zealot wandering this direction. This does create kind of a difficult scenario for Neoko, where if he over-dedicates forces bottom left, there could be a counterattack. But with enough cannons and a few High Templar in place, some Zealots storming the bottom left could be a big headache. So Neoko spots it, a large amount, and the same thing works the opposite direction for Nyentek. If he over-dedicates troops, another hatchery dropping, by the way. If he over-dedicates troops bottom left, then Neoko, if he has a sizable enough army, could move it on the map, but he needs, I guess, vision where Dark Templar could provide that potentially. Upgrade's getting a little bit closer, by the way, in the space of this time. Do we have Hive Tech? Hive Tech is started up, but not yet in place. There's the Corsair. I'm glad to see the Corsair active, poking away at these units. So Neoko sees the dedication here bottom left. I think another play would be just to go to the 12th, since you know you've got a large grouping of troops bottom right. Dark Templar, I don't know what he thought he was doing there. Yeah, just go to 12 o'clock and grab that while you know units can't really... There's just not enough out on the map. Neoko up a comfortable amount of supply, is up workers now, finally. At the later stages, he has not continued the upgrade path, which could be, I take that back. He's got +1, where is that? Okay. Sorry, +3 working back in the main, but and just started +2. I think Nyentek worried about that 12 o'clock base dropping into Neoko's hands with all the units dedicated bottom left piling up there. Want to see another shuttle make its way out towards bottom left, honestly. Archon's getting popped here on the front. Whiff of a Psystorm and a probe. able to spot that attack force, but gonna get cleared out. I think it was angling to get to the 12 o'clock. Another drop here behind enemy lines. And another drop. These guys have been in sync with the drops. Good Psystorm here for Neoko, but Hydralisk able to clear out, well, cleared out a cannon or two. Looks like the probes were able to draw off, so this worked out much better for Nyentek, although getting another Psystorm. So now Nyentek dropped to 28. Neoko able to clear it out. And a complete reversal of fortunes all of a sudden. One thing is with Zerg, although we don't have a lot of resources to do it, typically if you've got a lot of larvae, you can just really quickly resaturate by building a slew of drones. That's not what's happening right this second though. And Neoko starting to press out, get aggressive. This is a good opportunity after doing some economic damage to maybe, yeah, get at least a pylon and some additional action up to the north. Single Hydralisk dropping, that is going to get cleared out by the cannon. That's enough to drive Neoko back. We've got a counterattack moving towards the third. Neoko ahead of it though, able to engage it. I don't know what gave him the forewarning of this Hydralisk army moving out onto the map, but good instincts. Missed it, maybe a unit out on the field. And Neoko's still pinned in the upper left. And we are starting to see saturation bottom left. 50 workers, but that's across a single base, which means it's not going to run very long. But a 40 supply lead. Granted, no upgrade, but still 40 supply. As long as he keeps that army grouped, yeah, should be able to bully a lot of this Zerg back. And unfortunately, not collapsing to defend the 12. So loses another probe that was wandering up to grab the 12. This is coming very, very late, giving more opportunities to Nyentek overall. Army pushing in. We've got units trying to attack from the rear. Eating some Psystorm as they come. We got a lot of Psystorm to work with, by the way. But a lot of the... Okay, there we go. I was about to say a lot of the High Templar are not doing their job. Where's the Observer? Next question. All the Hydrals have been cleared at the 12. Not a lot of losses here from Neoko. He's got so many High Templar and so much energy to work with. Not sure where the Observers went in the space of this. It looks like we did get a probe up in there, at the very least, to get a cannon dropped. Keep in mind, we also have drop... Yeah, we're... No Observer free hits here. That's gonna leave a wedge, maybe to stop that probe. Where's the Psystorm as well? Okay. A little bit left. Second Psystorm should kill that lurker, yeah. Oof. 2 defensive cannons in place. Theoretically, no, Neoko gets to 12, but keep in mind, if this Corsair gets popped, Overlords can drop behind these lines, so it could be a little bit harder to defend than usual. Nyentek is still down in supply, but making his way to +3 Carapace, and he's got +3 weapons. Going up against an equal upgraded army, though, but there's still a massive amount of Psystorm in the midst of this. The question is how well does Nyentek, or sorry, how well does Neoko drop these Psystorms? Great Psystorm right there. Obliterating a good portion of that army, but drawing back. Playing a little bit passively here. Honestly, if he just continued to drop Psystorm and engaged very heavily into this, he'd be in a really good position. Instead, losing 2 free High Templar right there. Zealot just guarding bottom right. And the longer this waits, the more we're going to see some saturation here. And presumably a 4th gas. We have Hive Tech. We've got the Defiler mount. As soon as the Defiler's out and Plague is upgraded, this is a great spot for Plague. There's some additional Psystorm. I think Neoko's happy to... I think he's trying to draw the units out into the Psystorm to get some good trades while he's establishing that 12 o'clock. I just don't think he recognizes the army size advantage that he has, is what this is coming down to. I think he thinks his armies are closer in capacity than they actually are. Might have the realization now as he's making his way up. Should be able to wipe those evolution chambers from this position. Few units underneath. 2 defilers sneaking under. Psystorm not catching a lot. This will delay upgrades for quite a while for Nyentek. Also opening up the front. Probes drawing back from the 12 o'clock. And a counterattack of Zerglings and Lurkers. Is a defiler in here? No, no defiler here. And so we have an odd elimination scenario. We do have a High Templar in the midst of this. And that High Templar wiping, so a few cannon losses and that's it. In the meantime, the natural of Nyentek getting completely buried. Nyentek now at 1/3 the supply of Neoko. High Templar walking in to, I think they wanted a Psystorm. That's unfortunate. That's a lot of Psystorm that's lost there. Not that it makes a difference, because this is going to be it. Some Zerglings folding in to try to wipe out this third. Looks like the Lurkers at range might be able to poke away at this Nexus for a while, waiting for the Observer to get there. Counterattack's flooding that way, but the 12 o'clock is still in Neoko's hands. Kind of an odd starvation match starting to develop here, where the top right's going to get obliterated, but the 3 o'clock location is still in Nyentek, and bottom left, he's rebuilding everything. And Neoko, if he can wipe out this third, it'll turn into a longer game. Whiffing with the Lurkers right this second. Is he gonna okay, Psystorming on top of himself to wipe out one of the Lurkers. This Lurker's still in range to potentially poke away at this. The main is gone. It's gonna be a really, we do have a layer. It's gonna be a while before Hive is back up. And he's just sitting these units. They're taking a lot of free damage. Finally, the Observers make it here. That Lurker, holy cow. Okay. As they quiet down a little bit, Neoko's got 2 bases. He can start expanding. We got 2 Lurkers, which might be all that's needed to defend here, considering the Observer discipline that Neoko has currently fielded. Same deal bottom left with the 4 Lurkers. But this is a massive army, and I do not think Nyentek has the economy to hold this back. Although clearing out, repivoting, where is he? Is he going to go back towards the... I think he's going back to the 3 o'clock base. Grouping up. Just needs to get a move on before Nyentek can get his feet back underneath him. Defensive cannons dropping there. Little bit of indecision here from Neoko. So initially going back up to the top right, now moving bottom left. He's left some Archons and Dragoons in no man's land, though. And some Zealots are going back top right, or they're going into the 12 o'clock as well. Neoko's playing well. He's macroing okay, but he's just been, just hasn't had a sense of his army positions. It's possible he thought all of bottom right was in Nyentek's hands. Nyentek going for a drop here, by the way, with a Defiler, but we got 5 Zealots. Does get the Dark Swarm. Neoko just needs to react with the Zealots and the Archon, and should be able to clean this up without too much trouble. But he does need, yeah, needs to clears it out. Spotting additional bases. Sees the creep bottom left. Regrouping. Looks like he wants to grab this base and leave. I don't know why he's leaving defensive units. As long as he attacks here, it should be fine. So we got 4 Lurkers and some Hydralisks. It's really fortuitous for Nyentek that he actually upgraded so many upgrades earlier in this stage, but now it doesn't look like it's going to matter. There, the Psystorm's dropping. That should be the final blow. Nyentek does not have the supply to push this back, and he doesn't have the resources to invest to stem the tide. Also, Neoko going ahead and grabbing the 9 o'clock on top of everything else. Few Overlords with Lurkers making their way in towards the 12, but we got some Psystorm to deal with that. Yeah, they're gonna die very rapidly. There's GG. Kind of a nutty one all the way across, but good game from Neoko. He takes game 1 in this series. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.